Hey guys, we are all set for today's tutorial on graphics. If you want to be among the first lucky persons that will lay hold of our videos when they drop in the channel, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also to click on the notification bell. We'll be looking at one or two things today. Yeah. Okay, so here we are on we talked about the bars. We have a menu bar up here, we have a standard bar up here, we also have a property bar up here. And what you should know is that most times you're designing with the international papers, most of the local papers we use around. And if you can remember, one of the should I say, yes, one of the common papers you've heard about is A4. Yeah, A4. And let's say we're designing on an A4 paper. So we head over to this is your, over here. Yeah, this is where you select your paper. Yeah, this place. You select your paper. So you change the letter to A4. I'm taking it that we're designing on A4. So over there, I've selected my A4. Now we'll fix our paper. That's one of the most important things to do. You should know the area you're working with, so you don't work beyond the dimensions that you've actually expected to work on. So to begin with, let's zoom a portion of this. Let's zoom a portion of this work. So you come over here. I taught you about your toolbar. We'll be taking a great time harnessing every tool we have here. I may not be able to touch all of them, but we're going to look at so many of them. And I bet you, when you lay hands on these tools and know how to use them, you are good to go in graphics. Now, CorelDRAW especially. So let's head over to our zoom tool. If you head over here, that's your zoom tool. See it? That's your zoom tool there, over there. Yeah, that's your zoom tool. So we click on your zoom tool, and what you do, you just need to drag out any section you want to magnify. You see, it's becoming so large. Yeah, I don't need these things. All right, so let me collapse this character. I don't need them now. All right, so let's type something. We want to type something, unlike Microsoft Word, where you just start typing because your cursor has already been placed there. In CorelDRAW, there's a tool that is specific for that. So you must go on to the tool and click it. And one thing I should let you know, every tool here, almost every tool here has got a shortcut key. The zoom that we just used now has a shortcut key Z, meaning on your keyboard, when you click, when you punch your Z, yeah, you get your zoom tool. So when you head over to the A, most of the applications we have in computers, PCs, most of them, when you're talking about text tool, they always represent them using A. Yeah, if you check them, almost all of them, even apart from Photoshop that use T, and most of these other ones, mostly they use A. So this is your text tool, and the shortcut key is F8. So I click on my text tool over there, the text tool over there, then you head over to your work area and you click on it. After clicking on it, you can now type great God. Our God is a great God. So after typing great God, as I've written here, you just need to do one or two things. We are going to do one or two things. So permit me to be using great God. We'll be using great God to do a lot of stuff with it. And when we're done working with it, then you're going to be happy that that you are now conversant with most of the tools. So now, right now on my toolbar, if you notice, your text tool is active. If you notice, there's a box that has been highlighted, or a light blue or a sky blue, meaning that it has been selected, meaning it's active. So being active, or your knowledge from Microsoft Word, you could actually highlight this way, yeah, and change wherever you want to change. Maybe you want to change the font size from 24, you want to move it to 36, it will respond. Are we there? Or maybe you want to change the font, that's the typeface. You could as well come here and then change it to something else that you wish. But in CorelDRAW, the changes I'm doing or I'm making is for everything I've typed here. That is great God. So we don't waste our time, highlighting from here to here. All we need to do is that after you've, typesetted with your text tool, all you need to do is to drop it, or you head on to get your pick tool. Yeah, pick tool. Select, some application calls it the select tool. I think Photoshop calls it the select tool, meaning you are, by clicking this, you are selecting everything you have typed here. You see? So if I come here and get 48, it's still affected. Yeah, so I don't need to be highlighting from A to Z if I can actually head on to pick tool and get everything covered up. So here too, I can go back to my font and then change it to another font size. Let's say Aurora. You see, it's affected by that. All right, so this is what we have. So now, why we want to pick tool? If you notice something here on this red pick tool over here, you see that we have some locations or some marked positions on your selected text. You have here 1, you have here 2, you have here, that's 3, you have here 2, 4, we have here 5, we have here 6, we have here 7, and we have here 8. You are permitted to use any of them to increase or decrease the size of your text. Are we together? Now, what do I mean? If I head on to here at the diagonal, you see your mouse is, your cursor has changed to a diagonal arrow, meaning your movement is this way. I'm reducing it. I can move this way. CorelDRAW is telling you the direction to move. I can't be here and I'm moving up this way. It doesn't make too much sense. See? As I'm moving up, it's reducing, yes, but coming down, it's not even increasing, meaning I'm not moving well. But if I'm moving in a diagonal pattern like this, it's reducing. Like this, it's increasing. That's the best way to move. Then you can leave it there. You can come here to decrease, and can also come here to increase. So if you watch, I'm using these edges, using these points 1, this point 2, this point 3, and this point 4 to do that. Are we together? Now, why am I not using this point? Why am I not using this? And why am I not using this? Reason being that I use them sometimes, but not at all times, because if I'm using this, for instance, to reduce this grade card, watch what is happening. I'm a bit like collapsing. I'm like collapsing this one, and it's going to alter the shape of this text, and it's going to make it look. It's not looking good. If I'm going to use this very position, this very point to decrease my text. Wow, it's so bad. It's just like you trying to drag someone from his head down. You're trying to collapse the person's face. The person's head will look so flat. This is what happens when you do this on someone's image. So that's why I don't always advise people to use this. You use them, but if I'm going to reduce the height, I can just use it small. I think it's okay, yes. If I want to use this very middle one here, if I'm going to use this very one, I'm going to drag it in just a bit. Don't go and drag it to somewhere here. You disfigure the whole stuff and it's not going to look beautiful. Control Z there, so be mindful of that. Or I'll come and head it over here and drag like this. It doesn't make sense. So you have to be careful when you are using this Yeah, when you're using this point, this point, this point, and this point, you have to be very, very careful with that. I think we're good to go. Okay, so now this is what we have. Great God. And we're going to start working with Great God. So what are the first things we're going to look at using Great God? How do we, drop shadow? So we're working on a drop shadow tool. This is what I'm going to look at today. So let me expand this a bit. Okay. So let me give this in a color. Look at your color palettes. I promise you that I'm going to show you something about the color palette from the previous video. Over here, when you go here, you see you can actually expand this color to see everything you have here. Yeah. So let me pick my color. It can be this moon green or this other one, chartreuse. So I click and it gives me the color. Now, your mouse, if you are with your mouse, for instance, your mouse have two specific buttons. We have the left and have your right. So when you want to color inside of this Great God, you're going to click with your left. Yeah. So if I click with my left, you see the colors are changing. The colors are changing to something blue. It's taking it to ghost green. Yeah, and everything you have here you can change. Now, there are situations where you actually want to give this in a green here, and you want to give it a red as the outline. So when you want to give the outline of a text, you use your right click. Your right click. So when I'm not seeing red here, so I could scroll here. It's taking me so much time to get to red. So let me just expand it so that I can see all my colors. So over here, as I'm on red, I don't just go and left click, I'll do my right click. If you do your right click, you see what has happened to Great God. Yeah, Great God is now having a sort of feel. So let me zoom this work so that you see. Are you seeing? It's having red, you see? It's having a red outline. And mind you, I told you about what status bar helps us to do. You see, over here in status bar, you see that your fill color is the chartreuse. Is it chartreuse? Which is your fill color. Then your outline color is what red. So your status bar explains to you what you're actually doing or the properties you actually apply to a very text or a shape. And let's go on to reduce this so that we can see what we're doing. Now that's about coloring, filling your text with color and then giving it an outline color. So this is having a sort of green feel and a red outline. All right, so whichever one, let's get it back to blue or get it back to this other type of blue, which is called cyan. Now we've colored this. Mind you, we're talking about shadow tool. And before I go to shadow tool, let me now explain to you. When you come here, you can actually drag this out. I thought about this in the previous class. Yeah, this is a color palette, and this color palette is called default CMYK. C stands for cyan, M stands for magenta, Y stands for yellow. Then K there is for your black. All right, so we'll have other choices of color palettes if you want to work with. Most times I'm doing designs, I work with two different types of color palettes. So over here, I can drag this and place them here as one of the color palettes. Then I can go to my window, on the menu bar, go to my window and head on to color palette. If we go to color palette, you see that the default CMYK is checked to tell you that that was the one that is active. I could as well pick another one. We have uniform colors, you have HKS colors, web safe colors for those that design, SVG colors, and so many of them. So let's use solid mates or solid coated, Phantom, solid coated. See it here? Let me bring it out, you see? showing more of, you see, the kind of colors it's giving you. It's giving you different variations of yellow. You know, when you come to this one, gives us different variations of purple. You know, different variations of blue. So however you want to play around with it, this green, different variations, black, different variations of black, and everything. So these choices of colors, you won't see them on the CMYK palette, but you see, you are seeing them under the Pantone solid coated. So let me drop this here. So I've succeeded in giving myself 2 color palettes to work with. Very, very important as a designer. All right, so let me change this color, get something like this, and give it something and a blue outline. All right, we are good to go. So now I gave this an outline. Yes, this is an outline color. Situations may arise where you don't like the outline color to be there again. You want to do away with the outline color. What you do in CorelDRAW is to come over here. Yes, where you have, you know, the colors are here, all of them are here. All the colors are here. But when you come here to this box that is having an X inside, you know, when something is marked X, that means you are canceling it. So when you come here, if you right click on it, you notice what happened? The outline is out. So when I go back to a popular color or something, or yes, it's back. When you don't want to see this color inside, this orange-like color, you could as well this time around left click, not right again. So when you left click on it, it goes off, leaving you with only the outline color, which is blue. Immediately you do that, you see your status bar is telling you that the fill color is none. Yeah, it agrees to whatever we're doing. So let's go back and bring it back. So this is our fill color. The outline is an orange-like color. Hope we are following. So this is this. So let's go back to our shadow tool. We are looking at shadow tool today. If time permits us, we'll look at other ones. So let me zoom and focus on this gray god. So when you click on your zoom tool, yeah, this is your zoom tool. You can focus. Sorry about that. My mouse somehow misbehaved. You can click this way. You see the one I focused on this. We call it focus zooming. You see, it zooms to the page, to the height and width of the very great God. So when you scroll up, when you use your scroll button on your mouse, you can reduce and increase your zoom. So let me reduce it. Let's zoom a bit. All right. So let's do the shadow tool now. So I may not be following this sequentially as they are arranged, but we're going to touch everything. Yeah. So your shadow tool is one of the interactive tools we have in CorelDRAW. And interactive tools, most of them are lined up here. This one that you're seeing here is called interactive blend tool, which we are going to look at later. But let's click on the small arrow beside it. You see all of them are lined up. You have your interactive blend tool, interactive contour tool, interactive distortion tool, interactive drop shadow tool, interactive envelope tool, interactive extrude tool, and then the interactive transparency tool. And today we're focusing on our interactive drop shadow tool. So our interactive drop shadow tool, we want to apply shadow. The question now is it from the left to the right? Or is it from the top to the bottom? Or is it from the bottom to the top? Or is it from the right to the left? So for the purpose of this class, let me do from left to right. So what will happen, just come to any of the text and then drag out. This is what I'm dragging out. What I'm dragging out is a shadow of the text. So I drag and lined it up exactly on top of the original text. I line it up. This is what has happened. It has enclosed my text with a shadow. That does not necessarily mean that all your shadow must be lined up exactly on top of the text or on top of the shape you're working with. If you head over here, you could as well drag it down to look in a slanted way. There's still a shadow. You could as well head on to here and then take it up. It's still a shadow. But let me now balance it. You can still balance it. It's still a shadow, however you want it to be. Now, if you look at the shadow, your shadow tool, immediately you applied your shadow tool, something happened. Your property bar over here, your property bar changed. Yes, it changed to the properties of the shadow. Yes, everything here is meant for you to work with. Yeah, now watch. What's there? Clear drop shadow. By clicking here, what you apply, the shadow you apply will go. Let me do Ctrl Z to bring it back. So that's what this clear drop shadow does. And then we have all these things here for you, which we'll be looking at very vividly. Every tool we pick, we're going to exhaust it so that you don't have any issues with it when you're working with it. So now, when you drag it, you see this mark here? Yes. You see this box white? You see this one black? Black here tells you that the shadow is black. And if you notice, it's black. But the black is not so pronounced. The question is, why is it not pronounced? This is a 50-50, sharing formula. Because right here, if you notice, if you come here under, you see, you have 50 here. That's the drop shadow opacity. And in CorelDRAW, when something becomes more opaque, when it becomes more opaque, it becomes darker. So let me drag it. As I'm dragging this, you observe what is happening. It has moved from 50 to 60 over here. Yeah, it has moved from 50 to 60. When you drag, it is now 81. When you drag, it's now 95. So let me drag it to the end. You see, it's darker here. Now, this black box here tells you that the color of the shadow is black. So most times you may want to change it to red depending on whatever you are designing. So what do you do in that regard? In that situation, what do you do? You don't come over to the color palette and start clicking. Whatever click you do here is only going to affect the text. You see? It's only going to affect the text, but it's not going to affect the shadow. Why? Because whatever you're going to do on the shadow must be gotten from the shadow properties that have been displayed on the property bar. So watch what's going to happen. You see this black here tells you that this is your what? This is your drop shadow color. So you can click on it, change it to red, click on it, change it to green, click on it, whatever color you want. So let me use red. I think red will be better for what we're going to do. So, and color selection, color picking is always very important. So you don't just pick any color for picking sake. So we are done with our, these are our shadow tool. So let's head to the properties of the shadow tool, which can be found over here when you have your property bar. Here, all these places are properties that are attributed to your shadow tool. So we've done this. That's you want to cancel, clear your shadow. There's this. Here is to change the color. So here is the drop shadow angle. In case you can't drag, maybe your mouse is giving you a tough time to drag. To be frank with you, since I've been designing, I've never used this once, a drop shadow angle. But if you're a mathematician and you know how to do with your angles, you should know when the shadow is angle 90, angle 120, angle 60 degrees, and what have you. So let's head on now to this, which is called a drop shadow opacity. Opacity is at 100 because I drag this to 100. If you want it to be lighter, you need to bring this thing, once you just click here, you can take this thing back. Is what's happening? It's reducing. From 60, it's lighter. When you take it to 0, guess what? You don't see any shadow there again. So you just need to maintain it. You can just click here and drag. You see? I earlier explained that here you can actually drag it to the end to get you 100. So that's one aspect. Secondly, the next thing, or thirdly, is this drop shadow feathering. The next thing is the drop shadow feathering. It's 15. Feathering is just, should I call it the height, the width, or the spread. Yes, some Photoshop talks about spread and the rest. So let's spread this from 15. Let's take it to 49. So what's happened? Oh, looking so good. Looks amazing. and from 49 you could take it to 69. Is what's happening, and the more it's spreading, what you observe, it's becoming lighter. So let's bring it, focus it to the center a bit. So let's take it to 34. So this is 34. Now, having done that, we're taking time to see what drop shadow, how we can work with our drop shadow. Now, having done that, we'll now head on to this, which is called the drop shadow fading direction. Right now, when you click here, what you are seeing now is either you're picking the direction to be inside, middle, outside, or average. Are you seeing what I'm saying? But now what is the default is average. As you can see here, average is highlighted. Or yeah, so I can say inside. You see, inside is like you not doing anything. I can say middle is what's happened. Yeah, look at outside. Wow, outside brings out everything you can think about. The red is more pronounced in outside. So whichever one you want to do, you can do. No issues. All right, so let me reduce the fading from 34. Let's take it to 7. Enter. You see what happened? 7 is good. It depends on what you want. You see this another shadow property? Makes it look so amazing. So 4, for this work I'm using 4, and what have you. So all these ones, the drag shadow fade. You see, fading it. You see, so amazing. That is a drag shadow stretch. If you want to stretch it, you don't use your hand to stretch it. I don't use these things, but I just need to, in the process of class, you need to learn it. So let me do Ctrl-Z to take you back where we were before. So these are your draw shadow fade, if you want to fade it, and this is for your stretch, if you really don't want to stretch it. For the multiply, we're coming back to multiply later, but not now. All right, so this is how we use any of the tools that we're actually looking into. So this is your drop shadow, and I think we are good to go. So let's change this into green. Okay, need a color blend. I think this one is not bad. That is a good one.